I'm Nora Rogers. I am the pro bono coordinator at Nelson Mullins Law Firm. And if you don't know a little bit about Nelson Mullins, we now have 13 offices up and down the eastern seaboard, and we have 4 here in South Carolina. And as coordinator of the pro bono program, the pro bono program has been around for almost 25 years now, so it's a very well-established program. One of the very first really in the nation, have gotten lots of recognition from the ABA. So we handle a lot of different projects. We like to focus on children's issues, especially here in South Carolina. And I do have, if you want to know a little bit more about our program, it's right here in these books, and you're more than welcome to take one when you leave. We do a lot of mental health and disability work pro bono as well. All our lawyers in our office are required to do at least 45 hours of pro bono a year, but most of them do usually 75 to 100 is the average hours that they dedicate to helping others in need. So that said, a lot of people get confused that the program that I coordinate is like a legal service office, but it's not. We like to develop projects that are need-based in the states that we're in, and that really make a systemic difference for a lot of folks, although we do take a lot of individualized cases as well. So one of the projects we had started about 10 years ago is a project that we call our Student Advocacy Project, where we are representing a lot of children with special needs in disputes with the school districts and their educational plans. And from that project, we realized that when these children got to the age of 18, that there was nobody there to help them transition to find a guardian for these children. And of course, the parents, as you all know, because you deal with this every day, we're having difficulty making decisions about medical issues, education still, since they're still in school, usually to 21. They didn't have any say in financial issues. So it's a really big issue for these families. So with that thought, we thought, well, gee, we should look at this and get an idea of how many parents are really having this issue. So about 8 years ago, we started what we call the South Carolina Guardianship Project at Nelson Mullins. And with that project, we started with a few cases. And about 4 years ago, I thought, why are we just doing this in Columbia? Why don't we take this statewide? And everybody thought that was what we needed to do. So we have about 30 to 35 lawyers that are trained to handle guardianship cases. Now these cases are uncontested. I'll just say that up front. These are families where parents aren't going to argue about who's going to be the guardian. Also, these cases are ones that truly there is a child that has a severe disability and there is no ability to make decisions. Our goal in our project is not to take away the rights of these young adults. Please know that these are the cases that it's pretty clear-cut that they really do need a guardian. So when we started to go statewide, we had about 7 cases at that time. We have about 135 now, and we have a waiting list. I will tell you that the highest concentration of our cases are from the upstate. And I think that's probably just a testimonial to the fact that you all get together and you know about the programs, and there's word of mouth, and you've got some really great nonprofits up here, because I've spoken to a lot of you on the telephone. So I wish we had this in Columbia where we get everybody together to talk like this and do these lunches. I think actually you had called me the other day and I returned your call, so I'm glad you're here today. So as far as the project, the way it typically works is you know about our project and you call me, and then I will screen families for assistance. So because it's pro bono, we have to adhere to a definition of pro bono, which typically means in most law firms and as you know, legal services is 200% of the poverty guideline. Now that being said, after speaking to so many families and knowing that most of them have very high medical expenses, I thought, we are cutting out a whole population that could never afford a lawyer to do this service. So we expanded from 200% to 300% so we could get some of the middle class some of this assistance. I should say that we also worked very closely with the probate courts and the probate court judges so that they know about this project. So we will get referrals from nonprofits, from the judge's office, from pediatricians. We've got a nice relationship with the Autism Society. There's quite a few special needs schools in the state, so we get quite a few families that call from them as well. So I will screen based on income eligibility. I don't ask for taxes. I really would like to know that people are being honest about their income. I usually just ask what the annual gross income is for a household. I'll ask a few other income questions as far as benefits. If they're on particular benefits, then I know that, yes, they qualify. But I don't go into an intense income analysis the way some of our legal service agencies do. If they're over 300%, we'll look at that just based on some other issues they may have going on, but typically I do not go over 300% of the poverty guideline. Then from there, I will ask whether or not both biological parents agree to this. In those situations, I will tell you that usually it's mom is the caregiver, and lots of times they don't know where dad is, but that's okay if they don't know. We'll try to figure it out from there. But I do like to know whether or not they think that one of the parents will have some issues. If they're taking care of another child, then we need to get consent of those biological parents as well. So I'll talk through some of those issues as well. Most parents don't understand that you cannot file a petition for guardianship until the day after you turn 18. So lots of families will call me when their children are 16, so we need to get ready for this, and I'll say, no, if you'll call me back when they're about 17 and a half, we'll move this for you quickly, and then we'll try to file as soon as possible after they turn 18. It doesn't mean that we don't take children that are 24, 25, individuals that are 30. I get a lot of those calls from DDSN for medically incapacitated folks that we also have been helping as well. But we do really try to focus on that transitional age to 18 and over. When I do screen, I do talk about the process a little bit and how it's in probate court, and kind of like to know that these individuals have had some sort of health care and can identify to physicians for the affidavits that are necessary for guardianship. So that's a real big issue for our lawyers, because we really aren't going to doctor shop for our clients. We really like to know that there are at least 2 physicians that we can rely on for the affidavits. And then the court will also require that a guardian ad litem is appointed. So we have worked really closely with some other law firms where we have other lawyers and other law firms now that will serve as a guardian ad litem pro bono. So that will save these clients about $500, if not more, for that lawyer to be a guardian ad litem, because you need a lawyer as a guardian ad litem.
Will legal aid not help with that?
Legal services will.
Okay, because that's what we did.
And that's probably maybe what you did, but I really try not to call legal services.
Well, Ryan was the first one that went through this program.
Okay.
8 years ago.
Okay. Then you were one of the first. Yeah. So when we did start, we did rely on legal services a lot to serve as guardian ad litem, but they're just so overburdened already that I thought, we have all these lawyers and all these other firms, let's train them to be a guardian ad litem. So that's what our program has done. We've got quite a few firms around the state that will serve as guardian ad litem. And then, of course, the court also requires visitors. So a visitor typically can be somebody, a caseworker, or somebody that's very familiar with the child. And most of the families can identify a visitor for us very easily, and then we'll appoint them as well. And then we do provide all the representation all the way through, and with the court appearance as well. So that kind of is a very quick summary of our program, but it's really, truly not that difficult. I do prefer to get calls from caseworkers that have relationships with families, because then I really kind of know that, okay, this really is somebody that either qualifies financially or really cannot make decisions. Because when I get the call, I don't really know, whether or not there is a decision-making issue. And I do get a lot of calls that are very borderline. So I will send information. I don't know if you've seen the South Carolina Bar book that they put together called Transitions. It just talks about the legal issues of transitioning into adulthood. So I send this, and then I'll have additional conversations about whether you need the power of attorney, because we do not want to take away somebody's rights, because when you do become a legal guardian, the ward, of course, loses their voice in everything, and they lose their voice to drive, to vote, to marry. Although the judges have been great about carving out special issues in our orders, that it's not our goal to take somebody's rights away. Autism is a little bit harder. So I know that Protection and Advocacy for persons with people with disabilities in Columbia, and I think ABLE are working together to kind of create another program that will help identify services and not have the legal guardianship in place, but maybe another identified person that they will be working with. I got lots of questions about special needs trust and estate planning. So I try to refer them to particular people that might help with that, because we do not do that through our program. So if anybody here knows of any lawyers that do specialize in that might be interested in doing it either pro bono or pro bono, somebody would let me know, that would be great. Because that can be typically an expensive service for families. So that's about it. I will say that we, in the upstate, I don't think I have anybody on the waiting list now, but there are times that families do have to wait until the lawyer becomes available, because this is all done, of course, when they have the time to do it. So sometimes families do wait 2, 3, 4 months until they can find another lawyer. Here in the Greenville area, I've got about 7 lawyers now that do the guardianship filings. They've gotten very good at it. But there are glitches along the way with affidavits and families responding, and sometimes it's more the families that slow it down than the lawyers. So if you do have families, just tell them that, to work well with the lawyers and get the information or respond to calls, so that the process can go a little bit faster. But your probate judges in both Spartanburg and Greenville are very happy about having this service. Are there any questions? Or hopefully we've kind of fine-tuned it a little bit better than
well, I have to say, I'm very excited because I worked with Eric Norton.
Oh, Eric.
With the educational advocacy that started. And that was one of the things that I told him, because my son was approaching the age of 18. I said, the big B is guardianship. I said, have you all considered?
You may be what Spark called this.
So I'm on some credit more. So they started talking about it, and they decided to do it. So Ryan was the guinea pig up here in Greenville. Jay Thompson came up and provided the services. And so it was a great, I'm glad it still continued. I mean, almost 10 years later. I mean, that's great that it's available for families, and I do talk to them about it. And it's important because you have to really look at the individual family and the individual, whether or not they can actually make their own decisions.
Right.
It was difficult for me to make the decision that my child needed guardianship, because it does take away certain rights from him. And I, bumped heads with other parents who have big disagreements about that. And I have other parents who think the power of attorney is going to fix everything, and they have a child that's very mentally incapacitated, and it doesn't. So I really encourage families to look into it, but to think very closely about it. But it was a good thing for us, and the process was very easy in regards to this kind of thing. It's not hard.
But it can be expensive.
It can be expensive. I'm glad that this program is still available, and I got to benefit from being a guinea pig. So.
Well, thank you. So I'll give you credit for helping us start.
Tell Eric and Jason.
The program, so I will pass that along.
Any other questions for Nora? We got one over here. Oh, and one up there too.
You mentioned several times that it needs to be biological parent. I am not a biological parent.
It doesn't need to be, but if the biological parents are still living, then they need to be on the petition for guardianship.
Even after they've been adopted.
No, if they're legally
I'm
adopted,
legal parent.
absolutely not.
Okay.
No, but we do have families that are caregivers and not parents of children. But biological parents are still living, so they would need to be listed. And even if mom or dad hasn't been in the picture for 15 years, we still need to, if they're still living, we still need to include them in the petition and find them. So we'll do that service. For filing fees, we will also assist with filing fees if a family truly cannot pay. If they can pay something, I'd like them to pay a little something just to kind of buy into the process a little bit. But a lot of families just can't even afford a filing fee. So we will also assist with filing fees.
I have a question. Anne, did you have a question?
I did. You mentioned that you are dealing with children who are profoundly incapacitated. So you're not dealing with any levels of powers of attorney or anything like that?
We aren't doing the powers of attorney.
So you don't do any of that work?
We don't do the
It's all
powers.
just strictly guardianship?
And I will tell you, in the Charleston area, if you do deal with children with autism, MUSC, even if they're going there for services, unless they're profoundly autistic, they will not sign the examiner's affidavits. So I'll just say that. But then that's where I think that P&A in Columbia and ABLE would step in, and we're trying to find the gap for those kids, and maybe their program would help with that. Because some of the children, you don't want to take away everything. And the judges here in Greenville and Spartanburg, most of the judges will not allow a co-guardian, but they've gotten pretty good here about even doing co-guardians. So, everybody's kind of learning as we go with this process.
Cheryl, do you have a question?
I have a question in general, ballpark figure. For those that aren't eligible for this, what typically would be the cost for guardianship?
I think it just depends, but I would probably say, usually you have to pay a visitor, usually you have to pay a guardian ad litem. So that might be a little over $1,000 right there. You've got the $150 filing fee. I don't know what the rates are up here, but I would say it could be anywhere from maybe $3,000 to $5,000, just depending on who you use.
So families that might not check except for
There you are. So there is